What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Johnny Talks. Thank you for tuning in again. I just want to give a special shout out to Casey Mize for joining us last week for our second episode. That interview was great. He had a lot of thoughtful information, and it was super cool to sit down with him. He was in the heat of a roster spot race, and he ended up making the rotation and just gave us some time right in the middle of when he was his busiest. So I just want to thank him again for coming on. If you missed that episode, make sure to check that out. Casey is just a great conversation, and it was a super fun episode to film. So thank you again to Casey. We believe at Johnny Talks, he's got a big season upcoming, so we'll be rooting him on, and we'll be cheering him on the rest of the way. But moving on, if you are watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Make sure to hit that subscriber button. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. Helps legitimize us as a podcast, helps push us out a little bit, and it costs you nothing, so appreciate it. Subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, make sure to leave a review. Again, helps us legitimize what we're doing here a little bit. But moving on to today's guest, we have none other than my wife joining us today, Cass Spinelli. Cass is an influencer. She's a content creator, and I have her on not to talk about marriage or parenting, and maybe we'll do an episode like that down the road. But I really had her on because she is an incredible content creator. If you don't know our story, we kind of met through social media, and we decided once we got married that was something that we were going to pursue with our full passion, and that's what we were going to try to do as a career. And she is just so good at her job. She is so good at making content and making people feel loved and just being a light in a social media space where it's not always light. There's a lot of darkness out there. There's not a lot of super comforting things, and she's just someone that I think is super helpful in the space, and I'm just really encouraged always by her. And I just wanted to have her talk about what she does. And I see a lot of people always ask her, whether it be DMs or in person when people come and meet us, and it's something where I want to do social media, but I don't really know where to start, or I have some type of social media following, but I don't really know how to monetize it. So that's kind of the things that we talk about today. We talk about how to grow a following, how to post before you have a following, once you have a following, how to monetize that content, because social media has become such a powerful tool in being able to build businesses and build brands, and just being able to make money, whether that's your full-time job or part-time job, side hustles, whatever it may be. You can use social media to help you grow, not only personally, but your network and your net worth as well. So I believe she's very, very good at what she does, and she's got some great nuggets of truth and information that hopefully can help you out, and maybe learn a little bit more about her, those who are tuning in to learn a little bit more about her life. So here she is, Cass Spinelli. All right, now on Johnny Talks, we have for sure the hottest guest I will have on this podcast. And I say that with certainty, my wife, Cass Spinelli. Thanks for joining the pod.
Thank you for having me on.
Already speaking over each other.
I am so honored to be on your podcast.
Well, I had you on for two reasons. First, obviously you're my wife, so got to have you on. You've been very encouraging throughout this whole process and wanting me to do it, and I appreciate that. And so you're always just such an encouragement in my life, so obviously wanted to have you on for that aspect. But also, you are just so good at your job, and I just want to brag about you and brag on you. And I think that you're such a light in this world, and you need more platforms to be able to show that off. So I wanted to have you on.
Thank you. I love that. Now I'm like, wait, should I start my own podcast? This is too much fun.
But you are such a light in the content space, and it's just been such a blessing being able to be on this ride with you. And so I'm just very appreciative of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So starting off, your following has been, well, you are an influencer, content creator. I call you a content creator when people ask what you do.
Yeah.
You prefer influencer.
I don't really, it depends who asks.
Yeah.
If they're our age, I would say influencer. If they're not our age,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, content creator. And they still don't usually get it, but it just depends who's asking.
People often will ask me, they're like, what do you do for work? What does your wife do for work? And like, we work in the social media, space. And like, what does that mean? Like, she's a content creator. What does that mean? I'm like, have you ever heard of an influencer? That's basically what she is.
Yeah.
So and a lot more people get it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So your following has been kind of on a more linear aspect as far as the growth. I think when I see a lot of influencers, there's quite a bit that have this huge, blow up moment, or someone kind of helps blow them up a little bit. and some of them succeed, but also it's very hard to maintain that huge growth that they see at the beginning. You, on the other hand, have been very linear, not like necessarily slow growth, but just continuous, kind of more linear growth. And you've been able to build a really good community and really solid community by doing that. Why do you think your following has always been more of a linear growth? And how have you been able to stay relevant to those that have chosen to follow your life?
I think I started doing this when I was 18 and now I'm 25, which is crazy. Wow, that sounds a little bit old. But
And we met when you were 20. So I've been
yeah, for
good,
5 years.
part of the ride.
Yeah. You've known me, like, I've been doing this longer with you
Yeah.
than like without you, kind of thing. But so since I started it so young, I feel like I wasn't really posting in a sense of like, this is gonna blow up and I was just posting for fun.
Yeah.
And then people started following. And then I was like, oh wait, this is fun, you know? And so I don't know. I think it's just like the different phases of life. People, when I was in college, I think a lot of girls in college would follow. And then when I was getting married, people would find my like wedding and bridal content and stuff. And so then it just like brings more people in. And then once you're a mom, that brings in like a whole other audience. And so I just think, I don't know, the more phases of life you go
Yeah.
through, it like it just kind of brings more people in.
Right. There wasn't like a one moment that kind of just skyrocketed, but there's been different
Yeah.
things that have kind of had, slow growth and
Yeah,
brought people in.
definitely like wedding content.
Yeah.
That's always gonna like blow up. I feel like in a lot of our wedding videos, like on TikTok specifically, I feel like I got a lot of views from that. Followers from that. A lot of followers when I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like different phases of life will kind of like bring
Yeah.
different. And I don't know. I've never like posted things in a sense of like I want this to blow up.
Right.
You know, like I'm not like honestly, I don't want to have millions on
Right.
TikTok. That's like that brings in
That
like
is something that we talk about quite a
Yeah.
bit, is that we're very comfortable in the space we are and
Yeah.
have the community that we are. And there's big enough. And I think,
Yeah,
we're
there's like
comfortable with
you
that.
reach a point to where it's like you get into the like parasocial relationships and like people are just nitpicking everything. There's so much hate and negativity. And so I think right now I'm at a good spot where I'm not like too big to where people like some people like they don't really care what I'm doing, you know?
Right.
I'm not big enough for that.
Right.
But it's also like big enough to where this is my career.
Yeah, and
So
still being able to make a difference and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, kind of before social media, obviously I know your background, but tell the show a little more about your background, everything kind of up to social media. Where did you grow up? What did you like to do? Obviously, being an influencer wasn't a career choice 20, 15, even 10 years ago. So, what were some of the things that you were interested in? What did you think you would do as a career?
Well, I grew up in a very small town in Ohio, so there wasn't influencers. I feel like
Yeah.
there, it wasn't like LA or
Which
something.
is another brag on you. The fact that, you were able to start a social media career out of a small town, Ohio.
The ground up.
The ground up. You weren't in LA, you weren't at the beach.
Yeah.
you
I
you
also
really built
didn't
that.
have like other influencer friends.
Right.
That were like posting me, which that would be nice. And like, is anyone out there? Want to see my friend? No, but so I grew up in a really small town in Ohio, went to school in another small town in Ohio at a private school. But my whole life, I loved taking photos. But I think more importantly, I loved being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a job like growing up. So I would always tell people when I was younger, I want to be a photographer because I just wanted to be like around cameras and stuff. And then as I was like getting into high school, I realized photographers don't make a ton of money. Some do.
Yeah.
But like it's a space that is kind of oversaturated. Like you can find in Tampa Bay how many photographers, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a ton of photographers. And so I was kind of like, oh, well maybe that's, you have to be kind of big to make it that way. So maybe I could shift. So then my major in college was actually digital media production. So I went into college thinking I was going to be a sportscaster or a news anchor because then I realized I want to be in front of the camera. And so that's what I was going to school for. And that's what I had like full intentions of being.
Yeah.
And I was like doing news broadcasting for my college and stuff.
I remember when we were dating,
Yeah.
you were a senior and you'd be like, all right, gotta go do the news. And then I would
Yeah.
like watch the little news clip. Like that's because we were doing long distance. I was
Yeah.
another way to be able to see you, and you were good at it. So I would say that, social media.
Yeah.
you would've- been
I
able
feel
to
like I
succeed?
definitely, yeah, could have made that into a career. I feel like I did get nervous for those though, because it was like reading off of a teleprompter. And if
Right.
you made one mistake, luckily ours weren't live, but if you made one mistake, they would stop you right there and they'd be like, restart.
Right.
And so, like, and you had a whole camera crew and like all of my professors there basically just watching me do these like news things. And so I just always remember I was like, you can't mess up, you can't mess up, because if I do, like, I'm wasting everyone's time
Right.
because we have to restart. And so I did get kind of nervous doing that. And so I was like, I don't know, like, could I make this into a career? But luckily at that point, so I had started my social media. Well, I started Instagram when I was like 16
Yeah.
and
So that would
Visco.
be kind of going into what I want to talk about next is
Yeah.
kind of how did that start? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I followed you since then, or I followed you. You have a lot of people that followed you, since you were in high school. So
Yeah.
where did that start building a social media and like how did it start to grow?
I think Visco was a huge thing, which is like you didn't get paid on Visco
Right.
and you didn't really have, you could have followers, but that didn't say like follower count. It was
Right.
just like people followed, you didn't even really know how many followers you had. But it was just basically posting like Pinterest worthy photos and they would like kind of go viral. But so I would just post the same ones on Visco and on my Instagram. And so I think those were getting a lot of like attention on my Instagram. I remember like a couple of my friends in high school would be like, how do you have this many followers? Like, why are you getting so many likes?
And how many do you think that was like back then? So you what like sophomore, junior year maybe started to do this or like even
In
in middle
high
school? Yeah.
school? Well, I started a little bit in middle school, but I think all my stuff was private then. But so I would say high school. But
And were you posting these like, because again, influencer wasn't even a job still at this point. Were you like, I don't care, like I still want to gain a following, or was it more like organic, like I'm just posting this because I like to
yeah,
do
no,
it?
I wasn't even trying to gain a following. I thought it was fun.
Right.
And then but my account was public so anyone could see it. And so people would start following and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." I remember when I was like 18, I think 18, my senior year of high school, is when a brand started reaching out and they were like, "We'll pay you $50 for the to post an Instagram story." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is a great side job," because I had other jobs, but I was like, 50 extra bucks, that's like my gas for the whole month
Right.
basically. I didn't
Right.
drive anywhere. And so I started doing that and started just getting followers on Instagram. I don't know, definitely under 10,000.
Yeah.
But like at that time, it was like nobody had followers,
Right.
at least none of my friends or anything. And so people would be like, how do you have all this? And
It was also a lot harder back then because there wasn't like
yeah,
an explore page. That Instagram didn't push like accounts that you didn't follow out as much. Like now when you're scrolling your feed, half the feed is people that you don't even follow, and so they're pushing that out. But back then, it was a lot harder to have any type of following.
yeah. And you basically just followed your friends and family.
Right.
It wasn't like, who do I want to follow to get inspo from? That
Right.
wasn't really a thing. But so I started doing like the brand deals going into college. So all throughout college, I would do brand deals. And I remember like, obviously the money kept getting more and more. I think it was my second year in college, a brand had reached out and they wanted to pay me $500. And that was like crazy to a sophomore in college who like, the most I'd ever made was like at my little boutique job,
Yeah.
like $100 a week, And I'm like, wait, $500 for 2 Instagram
That's a
photos.
lot of iced coffee.
That's so much iced coffee. And I'm very fortunate to where my family took care of a lot of my like expenses. So I didn't have to worry about things. So I was literally like, that's a lot of clothes and iced coffee
Yeah.
is how I looked at it. And, but also I love to save money. So I was like, oh my gosh, I could graduate college with like a little bit of money in my bank account. So that was just my goal at the time, to like try to save up money, because I didn't know what I wanted to do after college, but I knew I wanted to move out of Ohio, which would obviously be expensive. And so I was just like, I need to save. I need to start saving money. And then what was the question? I forget.
Just like you pretty much answered it, like how you started to gain a following. So basically, it was kind of more of an organic, happening to where you
Yeah.
got to that point. I do hear you say now that like when someone maybe asks like, how do I become an influencer? How do I gain a following? I've heard you say before you need to post like an influencer before you have that following almost,
Definitely.
where you are, you know what, I may have 500 followers, but I'm going to post like I have 500,000. Kind of explain that to me. What does that mean? And so what does that mean to you in that phrase? And how can someone, turn that into what they're doing on social media?
Well, I think especially with TikTok, you post a cute video that could go viral. But if you're just posting like stuff that, no offense, like isn't going to get any views, and it's like, well, no one's going to watch that. No one's even going to see that, if you don't have any followers. But if you're posting things that this could actually get a lot of views. It's super cute or funny or whatever. And I think it's about like your camera quality settings, the way that your like text looks on the screen. Like I feel like a lot kind of goes into it. But even like I'll see some girls on my For You page, I see their stuff, I'm like, this is so cute. I swipe over to their TikTok, they have 200 followers, and I'm like, what? They deserve so many more. This was the cutest video I've ever seen. You know what I mean? So, and then I'll follow them. So like I think it's things like that where it's like, I don't know. It's just like if you're taking the cute photos, they're gonna get put on the Instagram Explore page, and I don't know, things like that.
No, I think it's something that can be applied to really anything you're doing. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be a doctor, you have to study like a doctor. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be, you know, a fitness coach, or you want to be a bodybuilder, like you have to train like that before you are. And so I think it's kind of a weird mindset for someone to be like, well, I want to have this type of following on social media, but I'm nervous about how people are going to react if I start posting like it. And so they don't do it, and they still hope they're going to get a following. You have to post like you have a following before
Yeah.
you're going to get a following. At least in today's social media, like the days of just kind of accidentally happening upon it is over. Like the social media is so saturated. You have to purposefully post like a content creator if you want to gain a following.
Yeah, which I can think of like two girls specifically on TikTok, and one was like in 2020 and one was like last year, that I started following them when they had like not that many followers.
Right.
One was like 10,000, one was like 50,000, and now they have over a million, like over a million. And it's just like you keep posting and you keep consistent with it, people are gonna catch on, and people are gonna want to keep seeing your stuff pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm sure people around them, when they started posting like that, they were like, who does she think she is, like, to do that? And you just have to kind of ignore those type of people in your life, or just not care at all, because at the end of the day, if that's your goal and if that's something you want to do, you can't care what
Yeah,
people say.
I think that's another thing. People will be like, when you were in high school, though, weren't people like making fun of you? I have no idea. If they were,
Yeah.
they weren't doing it to my face, and I didn't really care, to be honest, because I was like, I love doing this. I love making videos, posting photos. So like, who cares, you know?
So when we first started dating, or when I reached out to you, you were maybe like low 30s on Instagram as far as followers, probably somewhere in the 60s on TikTok. Obviously, you're at a much higher rate now. Was there a breakthrough moment in your career? I can think of a couple myself that really changed the trajectory of your
I'm like,
career.
no, I'm like, yeah,
The
that's it.
the trajectory of your career. I can definitely think of a couple that really, because originally when we first started dating, and talking towards being married and building a life, it wasn't that you were going to pursue social media full time. We were talking about, each getting a regular
job.
9 to 5 job, and stuff like that. So I could definitely think of a couple things that were really showing of, okay, we can make this work, or that you can make it work, and that you can really succeed. Is there a couple moments that stick out to you?
Well, I think definitely. So, leading up to college graduation, I was applying to jobs at news stations. But the other thing about being a news anchor is you basically start from the bottom. So, like, I would have started in like the smallest news station you can think of, and then you like work your way up, which is like not really what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to start at like Fox News somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I was still applying to the jobs though. But unfortunately, the salary for starting out as a news anchor, not a lot, which
Yeah.
is like any job. You kind of have to like work your way up. But at that time, I realized I'm pretty much already making doing social media what these salaries are. And I'm only doing it like part time because I'm in school.
Yeah.
So if I did this full time, then I wonder how much money I could actually be making. And so I feel like that was like, I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm not taking a job. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
going to pursue social media. And then I think like that summer after college graduation, I was taking it a little more serious. But then I think when we moved to Texas is when I was really like, okay, this is my job. And so I need to like act like it. And you were still teaching. And so like you'd be gone during the day. And so I was home. I was like, well, if this is my job, like I need to be making content, you know? And even at the time, I feel like I was not getting as many views as my stuff does now. And
Right.
obviously not making near the amount of money,
Yeah.
but at the time I thought it was a lot of
Right.
money because I was just out of college. And I feel like that confidence, like honestly, was good and what I needed
Yeah.
to be like,
It
wait,
was-
no, I am making good money.
We were slightly delusional, but also unaware of what the economy would turn out to.
Yeah.
Like in today's economy, we probably would not have.
What we were making then?
Yeah.
Oh, heck no. But at the time in Texas, our rent was so cheap
Yeah.
and like we were like, oh, we're doing so good, you
Yeah.
know? But I think, yeah, just like you said, kind of being delusional and being like, oh, yeah, this is my job. It
Right.
kind of like got me to where I'm at
Yeah.
to just be like, well, then I don't know. It needs to be my job then. Yeah.
I could definitely think of a few things. I was skeptical going into not our marriage as like our marriage, but like as far as social media.
The finances
Yeah,
and stuff of it.
the financial part of it, just because, I was in education. That's not a high paying thing. But if you work two, not super high paying jobs, together you can survive.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. And kind of made the decision, and you were like, no, I think this is something I could do. And so then I made the decision to full support you, to the point where that right after we got married, we decided together that, we were
Yeah.
going to pursue it together. And I think that was one breakthrough moment of kind of taking a step out of the boat, trusting, the Lord had favor in our life. And it was because it was scary. Like, that was our only
Yeah.
consistent paycheck.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, those first few months, we were scraping the barrel as far as money. I don't think people realized, especially during that time, the money was not like
Yeah. Well, and
there.
that was before I had signed with management.
Yes.
And so I was trying to do everything myself. I was reaching out to brands or hoping that they emailed
Mm-hmm.
me. And like each day I would be like refreshing my email. Like, did I get anything
Yeah.
else from brands? And like, if not, then I was like, okay, we're going out, we're taking
Yeah.
content because I need to be making organic content.
Yeah.
You can't just post all ads. And so you still
Right.
have to do the organic stuff. But I feel like though, even Instagram is different to now
Yeah.
to what it used to be. Like, it used to be way more like fashion outfit pictures, and now it's more just like casual lifestyle. That's what people
Yeah.
like to see
More
more.
reels and videos and
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely more reels. I think video has like completely changed Instagram
Yeah.
for better or worse, but it works in my favor because then I can just post little vlogs, which is what I like to make the most anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a lot of faith in God
Yeah, we
at
did.
that
We
point.
were eating a lot of, great value, a lot of cheap,
Yeah.
all these meals. But I think that was it's a huge thing to point out and look back and just thinking, once you commit to something, commit fully.
Yeah.
And we committed fully. We had no
Yeah.
guaranteed check. We had no guaranteed anything, and we just was like, no, this was kind of our dream, and this is what we want to do. I think that was a huge moment. I think moving to Florida ended up being
Oh,
a
absolutely.
huge blessing and a huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
The growth that we saw just from that, and then also, I think the third thing I can think of is when we got our manager, Julia.
Yeah.
That was a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
And so,
Yeah, I feel like I don't ever share about it too much because who cares and whose business is it really? But the first manager that we had, love her if she's listening, but it was not a good fit. And she was not making us any money, but we didn't know anything different because that was like my first ever manager. And I was kind of like, well, I'm going to stick out with her because no one else was like seeking me out at that point. But I could have got out of it anytime I wanted. That's how the agency works. It wasn't like a year-long contract or anything. But then we were moving and stuff. And so I was like, I don't want to look for another manager right now. I'm just going to stick with her. Thank goodness I did, because if not, I would have never got with Julia now. But so what had happened was my manager called me and was like, hey, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, praise the Lord. Like, this was my out.
we were going to leave
We
the
were going
company.
to leave the agency anyways. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Because
this
we
is
felt bad
perfect
because
timing.
even though we weren't making a ton, like, we still had built a friendship with her.
Yeah, like
And
we were
yeah.
more like friends, and like we would text a lot and stuff. And so she was leaving, and I was like, this is like the Lord's timing. And she was like, however, this other girl at the agency wants to pick you up. And I'm like, oh no.
She was really young, right out of college.
Yeah, she was right out of college. And so I was like, no, this isn't going to work. And so we had a meeting with her, and I was about to have Brooks, I think, or I was pregnant. I definitely was pregnant. And so I just basically told her, I was like, I'm going to give you like a month, but it's nothing personal. Like, we just don't have a good fit with the agency. And so like, we're going to leave.
And this was a more serious time. We were about to have
A
kid.
baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, this is nuts,
Yeah.
you know? And so then she was like, just give me a month. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm pregnant anyways. I don't feel like looking for another manager. I'll give you a month. And she was looking back at my stuff, and she was like, this is how much money you were making. I'm like, yeah. And she was like, oh, this is like crazy. You could have been making double, triple. And I'm like, what on earth? Within the first month that we were with her, I think we definitely made like triple the month
Yeah.
previously. And I was like, wait, what? And she was like, no, you could have been making this the whole time. Like she just wasn't she wasn't reaching out for you and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a huge, and I tell her every day, I'm like, we're so thankful for
Yeah.
you. Like she's literally the
We always
best.
send her, birthday gifts,
Yeah.
Christmas gifts. We just like let her know that, she's been such a blessing. And
Yeah.
I think it's important looking back at some of those things that I'm thinking about is betting on yourself. That's a big thing. If you want to be successful and you have a
Yeah.
dream, you have to bet on yourself. You have to be willing to, step outside your comfort zone. Moving across the country to Florida, like obviously was out of my comfort zone for sure, growing up on the West Coast, and had moved to the South in Texas, and then third, trusting someone that what they told you was going to be accurate. So I think those are three big life lessons we learned, and it's been super beneficial.
About the Florida, I think it was literally a couple days after we had moved. One of my beach photos got like almost 200,000 likes. It
Yeah.
got so many likes. I got like 10,000 followers from that just in our first week of living in Florida.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
We should have done this a long time ago.
So I think a lot of people that moving on that have built a following complain that they're not making any money from it. So I think there's a common, I don't know, thought or idea that, oh, I gain a following and then money comes with it. However, specifically Instagram, you don't make any money directly from Instagram. It's not this amount of followers equals this amount of money or this amount of likes equals this amount of money. There's, a belief that following correlates directly with money made. In your experience, is that correlation correct? And if not, why is it not correct?
I mean, I don't know what other people are making, but I would say no, because anybody can just like blow up overnight and that doesn't equal to money. Some people don't even have like management or anything. They just like blow up over a viral video and they get a bunch of followers. But the thing that I don't know if like other people realize is that companies are looking for a good ROI rate, which is like your followers have to be buying the products that you're trying to sell.
Right.
And so it's all about the link clicks. It's about like building the community and saying, you guys have followed me for years. You know, if I'm posting something, it's because I love it, I trust it, and now I'm going to share it with you. So you should buy it too, type of thing. It's all about the relationship, I think, with your followers. And I think that's another reason that I am successful is because some of these girls have been following me literally since I was 18.
Yeah.
They feel like we're friends. And so it's like, something I post about, they're like, of course I'm going to buy it, And I have people that I follow that anything they post, I'm like, I would buy that,
Right.
And it's also not just the brand deals though. It's like the like to know it, Amazon storefront. A lot of it is brand deals, but then there's also the TikTok creator fund, which they changed. So it's not even the same, but there's so many different ways that you can be making money. Affiliate links, like I have a bunch of those that I make commission off of and stuff. But again, that's people buying things
Yeah.
with your code.
Yeah.
And so I think that's maybe where the misconception is.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh my gosh, I got 1 million followers on TikTok overnight, I'm going to be so rich.
Right.
It's like, well, those people have to
Yeah.
trust you and trust what, you're saying and
Yeah.
the products you're sharing and stuff.
Specifically on Instagram, YouTube is different. If you're getting that kind of viewership on YouTube, that's a completely different
Oh
game.
yeah, the YouTube creator fund
But
is
I know a lot of people that, they gain a following on Instagram for a variety of reasons. And let's say specifically that maybe they gain 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is a great following
Yeah.
and can be made money. But let's say 95% of that is from the male category.
Yep.
What can a company do with that? Not a ton. And so I think it's important to not search for the number, but really but build that community.
Yeah.
Because I hear agents all the time and in different companies say they can do more with a person with 20,000 followers that cares about them and has a loyal following and cares about what they're posting than someone with 150,000 followers and they're just, liking maybe for the bikini picture or
Yeah.
the trip that they're taking and they're not actually caring about what they're posting.
Yeah.
So not necessarily focus so much on how many followers I can get, but what can I post that shows who I am and builds trust and builds community? Because it goes beyond just making money. You want to make
Yeah.
content for people that they get joy out of it and they get, it makes them happy to see
Yeah.
your stuff. They can learn from it, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it's not all about just posting for my, like I just post because this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's like a huge misconception where it's like, oh, this person has so many followers, they're probably so rich. When it's like, especially for girls, if all your followers are male,
Yeah.
that's not gonna do you good at all.
Right.
You know, you need, like, brands are gonna be like, oh, you have too many male followers, I'm
Right.
not gonna work with you.
Yeah.
That they'll say that, you
Right.
know. But yeah, I think it does go way beyond like the money aspect. It's about just like you said, being a light for people. I want people to see my stuff and think, oh my gosh, she's so joyful. What's that? You know, and then I can say, oh, it's because of the Lord. Like, that's why. And everything we have is
Mhm.
all from the Lord, you know? So it's not even like, look how much money I made. It's like, look what the Lord has blessed us with, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been very clear in our life that he's just had his hand over our life in
Yeah.
every single decision. I mean, we've made some decisions that, looking back, it was not the smartest thing. Like we
Yeah.
just talked about, like I left a teaching job
Yeah.
to go work for you when we were making not that much money.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a smart decision. Like moving without, a huge safety net, not necessarily the smartest decision. Like, but we always put our faith in the Lord, and we always submitted to him before we made those plans, and he blessed us.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's always been good. And yeah, just a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, a common question you get asked is, how is social media your job? Like how is some people just don't fully understand what social media has been able to do. So when did you start figuring out, okay, these are the best ways to monetize social media? What are some things that you tried in the beginning that maybe didn't work? And what are some time proven ways now? You kind of already touched on it a little bit, but just kind of go over those, rehash it a little bit. What are some things now that, people can be implementing into their social medias to be able to monetize? Because I do want to say, I think social media has so many great aspects, obviously a lot of downfalls. But one of the great aspects is you can make money off of it, not just as an influencer. You can make money off it as a business. You can make money off of it, through affiliation, like you were saying. It's a great way to create a personal brand, whether it be for you or your business or whatever you're doing. And it's unheard of the way that, you're able to get your name out there these days. And so I think everyone should be able to take a look at themselves and, is there any way I can use social media to benefit my life in that way? So how are some ways that people can, use social media, whether they have a huge following or not, to start to make?
Well, I think one thing, I have not dabbled in it, but a lot of people do, is like TikTok shop. I know a lot of brands use that. And I think if you're like not a brand, just like a normal person, and if you buy something off of there and then post about it, you can like make commission off of that, which
Yeah.
I know some people, they're like, oh, I made $2,000 last month from TikTok shop.
Right, which
Which
is
for
crazy.
just like someone who maybe is a stay-at-home mom, but she's able to make that extra income for her family, $2,000 a month, that's crazy off of TikTok shop. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, like I said, I haven't dabbled. Maybe I should. I don't know. But in like Amazon storefront, anybody can have an Amazon storefront, which
Right.
is like, yeah, you might not be making a ton of money, but if you have one video go viral and it's something you bought on Amazon, then you could.
No, that's huge. I think
Yeah.
it's finding things that have affiliate links, that have, commission.
Yeah.
And just start reviewing things, like just being able to, oh, I got this
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
Here's what I got. You're not even necessarily pushing it, and it's just
Link in
gonna drive
bio,
link in
something
bio.
like that, which is like, if I saw a girl post about something on Amazon, she even like not an influencer, and she was like, oh, but it's on my Amazon storefront, I would go to her Amazon storefront and look
Yeah,
for it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I'm not like, oh,
I'm
she's
only
not an
gonna buy from
influencer.
the,
Yeah,
yeah.
like what the heck? That's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I would go and buy it from her.
I think a lot of people get discouraged, and they go, I want to have like this, or I want to do this, but I don't have this. I don't have this following. I don't have this many people. I don't have this aesthetic house. I don't have, this aesthetic car, or this aesthetic life. Just start where you are.
No, yeah,
Just start where
absolutely.
you are, because there's
Like
people
when
in
I,
there's people in your lane and in your like type of life who would want to see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to see everyone who like even has kids. You know, some people who are like so far from having kids, they're like, all my favorite influencers are moms now. So if you're not a mom, like there's people out there, you know, who want to see your stuff. And like when I started posting, I was living at home or in college, like in my dorm.
Yeah.
My dorm was the least cute thing you can imagine. Like it looked more like a jail cell. So, and that's where I started making my content, you know?
Right.
So it's just like, you should just start wherever you are. If you don't post anything, then you're never
You're gonna get a following.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you might as well post something.
Yeah.
Is how I see it.
I think one thing you've talked about a lot with me is, everyone starts at zero.
Yeah.
Every person that has 1 million followers started at zero. Everyone made that first post. So it's like, you got to start somewhere. You can't get discouraged when you're not, at a level of where you expect to be, or maybe where your effort you think would lead you to this point. But you just got to start somewhere. You got to keep going. And I think in the social media world today, I think there's enough room at the table for everyone to eat. And you just kind of got to find your seat at the table.
But yeah, there's so many different, like, my friends will be like, oh, you know this girl? I have no idea who they're talking about. And they're like, what? That's one of my favorite influencers. And I'm like, never heard of her. But so it's like, I don't know. It's just like, you don't have to be someone that everyone knows.
Yeah.
Like, you can, and like the girls will show me, they still have 200,000 followers on Instagram, and I've never even heard of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're still someone's favorite. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even if like the whole world doesn't know who you are.
Right.
So
the majority of the money that's being made is through brand deals. Obviously, YouTube, you are on YouTube, but it's not like the main thing. There's people that are main YouTubers, and that's how they have their main income. Ours is mainly from working with brand deals. Explain to me the process of a brand deal. I think that's something, when I tell people what we do, they immediately, I meet someone at the golf course, let's say like an older gentleman. He goes, what do you guys do for work? Work in the social media realm. How do you get paid? That's immediately the next question. Well, we normally get paid from brands. How does that work? So I think that's something that a lot of people who aren't immediately in the business are very, all they see is that 30-second ad pop up on, their Instagram feed. They may like, they may not, they may comment, they may not, they may buy it, they may not. Where does that go from the intro to a brand deal to getting it posted? Because there's a lot more into it than people may think.
yeah, well, I think it's different for people who have management and who don't, but I'm just going to speak from my personal experience since we have management. The brand will reach out to my manager via like my email that she has access to, and they will just be like, okay, we want to work with Cass for this amount of content, this amount of money. And then she can either be like, send it over to me, or negotiate for me and be like, well, that's not enough money for that amount of work. And so they'll go back and forth, but then I don't see any of the back and forth. Thank goodness. That would stress me out.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah. So she just sends it to me. Hey, this is the brand. This is the deliverables. This is the rate. I just say yes or no. It's very easy. But then if I would like accept it, I do the work. There's a deadline. It's
Right.
not
So
just like
how does that start though? Is there like, do you ever, are you communicating with the brand, or is it like different from brand to brand as far as like before you even start shooting?
Oh, well, not me personally, unless they want to have like a briefing call.
Right.
Which a lot of the bigger, especially if they're paying a lot of money, they do want to have a briefing call with you. So if I accept it, I can usually have to send over a concept, and then they can approve or deny my concept. If they deny it, obviously I have to rewrite a new one. Once they approve my concept, they would get on a briefing call with me. We go over the brief together. That way everyone's just on the same page, and then they'll be like, okay, this is when we need the content. Sometimes it's a week or two in advance. Sometimes it's literally the next day. And brands are like, I'm so sorry for the quick turnaround. We need it tomorrow.
Well, it'll be like, it's at your door in 20 minutes.
No, like the product's coming to your door. We need the content tonight, actually. No, they never said tonight, but like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of like, it's hard because yes, this is my job. Also, I have a child.
Yeah.
We have a dog. Like, I have things that we have to take care of. I can't just like drop every single thing I'm doing, especially with Brooks, and be like, now's the time to film.
Yeah.
Especially if I need help filming it. So you're filming it of me, then it's like, what do we do with Brooks?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Sometimes that can be stressful, but if there's enough time, they'll give me a deadline, whatever. I'll turn in the content on that deadline. In my perfect world, they love my content. There's no edits, and it gets posted.
How often does that happen?
Like 50-50, I would say.
Yeah.
I think when I first started, never. There was always edits.
Yeah.
But I think the longer I do it as my actual job, brands, they just love what I'm giving them, or they trust me and they're like, yeah, that's perfect. Your audience is going to love that. Sometimes they literally want 1 million edits, and sometimes they want reshoots when it's like, you approved this concept.
Yes.
you approved of this. Why did you let me shoot all of this if you needed a complete reshoot? Luckily, I haven't had a complete reshoot in a long time. Some brands have requested them, and my manager was like, no, that's not happening because you had approved this.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I never want to seem like I'm complaining about my job because I love my job. I love what I do. This is like my dream life, my dream job. But it's just like there are little annoying things. There's going to be
Yeah,
little annoying things
I
about
mean,
everything.
a baseball player that makes 200 million in 5 years, like there's going to be
He's
things
going to have things he's going to
yeah,
complain
there's
about.
always things, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about brands throughout this and how often some of them are great, some of them
Oh, yeah.
are super great, and they understand. It's kind of crazy to me how often brands don't understand social media though,
Oh my gosh.
and don't understand a following. And I think brands are starting to learn, but it's very common that, we'll be given this is your concept, and it doesn't have anything to do with anything you post. And they're like, you have to say
Yeah.
this, and then you'll make this video for them, and you'll turn it in, and they'll send it back, and they'll say it's too ad-like, or it's too this. And you're like, you told me to say everything
Yeah,
that we
no,
just
my
said.
favorite is when they say, we don't want it to seem like an ad at all. We
But
want it
then
to
here's
seem
what you have to
so
say.
organic. And then I'll turn something in, and then they're like, oh, she forgot to put hashtag ad, hashtag so and so partner. She forgot to verbally disclose in the beginning,
And then you
and
gotta
she
go
forgot to
back
go
to the
through all
editing.
these talking points. Then it's like, wait, but you said it was supposed to be organic. So now I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brand deals communication, they can be
Yeah.
something where it can be shot quick, it can be edited quick, it can be posted quick, and you're like, oh, that was
Yeah.
a breeze. And then there's other ones where you're fighting tooth and nail to just get that thing posted and get that
Yeah.
thing done.
And
So
those I submit them and I leave a little note to my manager, never working with this brand again. Because it's like, honestly, brands that I genuinely absolutely love, they never want edits.
Yeah.
Like I'm posting one today, I had to change one thing on a story and it was like I got the date wrong.
Yeah.
And like that was it. And that brand I love. But it's just like I don't know. I try, especially since becoming a mom, I really try to only accept the brands that it's like
we're already using.
I use this product every single day,
Yeah.
or I have used it before, and it's like things I genuinely love because I never want things to come across like she's doing this for money or like this is obviously an ad,
Right.
which is like, of course, some of my ads I post, it's going to be obviously an ad, but it's still a product that I love and a product that I use. I remember like I made a Swiffer one that was like obviously an ad, but I love Swiffer.
Yeah.
We would Swiffer our house. You know what I mean? So I don't know, things like that.
I think that's an important thing if you're trying to build a following, is making sure that you respect your audience enough to not be over monetizing your account for things that are obviously not your likes and something that you're using. I think that when you grow a following that cares about you, they want you to make money, right? They want you to be able to build that career, but they also want it to be organic.
Yeah.
And they also want it to be something where you're staying true to yourself. And I think that's where, I really appreciate you. And as we've grown, in social media, I don't see you like getting something and being like, oh, I have to take it. There's so many times where we get, something from a company and maybe we don't necessarily agree with those companies' values, or we don't use that product at all, or we wouldn't use it on our child, and we say no.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's some people that don't say no to anything.
Yeah.
And, that's okay. Everyone's got their own way to go about it. But if you're trying to build a social media content and following, I would just say be careful on, the brands that you're working with. Obviously you have to make money. That's you can't build a career if you're not making money. But I think your content comes across a lot more genuine if you're working with brands that, really fit who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you love your job very much. It's your dream job. It's been a huge blessing, as we've said, to, not only you, but our family. What is your favorite thing about your job? What's your favorite thing about being an influencer?
I think it changes a lot. Right now, my favorite thing is that I'm able to be home with Brooks. And like, if we have more kids in the future, I'm able to still be at home, which is also one of my least favorite things though, because then it's like, where's the work-life balance?
Yeah.
But I think that is a huge blessing because if I had to be away from him, like to go to a job, I think I wouldn't love that. And so I think that is the biggest blessing. Also, the fact that we can travel and that it's part of our job. A lot of times we have brand deals that we're shooting while we're on vacation or something. And so it's like we can travel whenever we want and we're still getting paid, but we have like the flexible schedule of to be able to travel.
Less so now with a child, but yeah.
Less so now with Brooks, yeah. And then I think another thing is just like being able to be a light for people and like be like, I feel like I'm not someone who is gonna be like, this is what I'm reading in my Bible right now, but just posting like, here's my church outfit, or like, thank you Jesus for this life, you know, and people are like, oh, she's a Christian, and maybe they'll follow along. And like, I don't know, I never want to be someone who is just like, that's all I post.
Yeah.
Which like, because I do like fashion, I like posting mom stuff, but it is like I get to be a light for people in that way, you know. And maybe people who aren't even Christian would follow me and then be like, later find out, oh, she is a Christian, I didn't know that, you know what I mean? And so it's like you're getting, I don't know, to be a light to everyone pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, in a space that can be very dark and,
Yeah.
and gross and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's important to be fully transparent as well. There's obviously things that can be tough. Even people with their dream jobs have things that they don't necessarily love about their job. And I think that's okay. You know, there's nothing that's gonna be 100% perfect. I think a lot of people tend to think that influencers live these perfect lives just because social media is a highlight reel when you look at it. So I think it's important to be vulnerable and talk about some of the harder things. What is your least favorite part of the job, or maybe the hardest, as far as, you know, influencing as your career?
I think it might just be like people thinking they know about things that even maybe I haven't even shared about it, and then they will like DM me something and I'm like, where are you getting this from? Like, I've never even said that. Or I don't know, just I think that's it. Just like people thinking they know more about a situation than they even do. And it's like, why do you even care about that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that sounds rude, but it's just like people think they get too comfortable. And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, you don't know me and I don't know you. You can just unfollow if you don't like what you're seeing, you know?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be so serious and be like sending rude, hateful DMs. And I don't know, a lot of times the weirdest DMs are from people that don't even follow me. So maybe they did unfollow when they
Yeah.
sent that message. But I don't know, it's very interesting aspect.
Yeah, it's something that was, as someone who, you know, obviously through high school and most college, I had zero following. We're talking like 300, 400 Instagram followers. And then if you didn't know my backstory, I got a little bit of a following on TikTok towards the end of college. And so started being kind of thrown into that world. I was more of like that more sudden jump.
Yeah.
kind of
You had
thing
more followers than I did on TikTok,
TikTok,
when we
yeah.
met. Yeah.
And so that was a very eye-opening experience for me, especially when we got into a public relationship, is the amount of people who think they know us when they don't.
Yeah.
And it can be very draining, the messages and the comments you get, because in order to be successful on social media, you have to show your life and you have to be vulnerable that
Yeah.
way. But people don't realize what they show you on that life, even though what we show is 100% real and 100%, you know, accurate in what we're doing. You don't see 24/7 of our life. You don't see everything. And so people think that whatever they see on social media, yes, it is real. Yes, it is like us.
It was real for the 30 seconds of our
Right.
day that you saw.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not 100%. And especially, it's gone in waves, but especially when we became parents, the assumptions began and were crazy. When we first started in a relationship, the assumptions were crazy. Beginning of our marriage, it just kind of goes through waves. So I agree, like that's it, and it's obviously part of the job. Like you know what you sign up for. And it's something that we even talked about when we were dating, is could I be okay with that?
Yeah.
And we talked about, like, you know, obviously that
Things
was,
we were okay with sharing and
Yeah.
things we weren't. Yeah.
because I mean, there's something I had to think about. Like, did I want to, obviously I loved you and wanted to pursue, you know, relationship and a marriage, but what came with that was that, you know, my life would be a lot more public than, and it's not like there's no paparazzi, there's no, you know, we can still live our lives. Like,
Yeah.
we're not at that level. Like, trust me, we don't think we're at that level, but
Yeah.
we still go out into public and we meet people. And
Yeah.
we see people that,
I mean, people are still like trying to find our address and
whatever.
like
Yeah.
when we were selling our other house, like
Yeah.
it was still out there and
So
things.
it's there's out
Yeah.
there, but you know, it's part of what comes, and you just kind of have to deal with it and be
Yeah.
okay with it. But it's not the best part.
I think another hard thing for me is like, because to be honest, I don't really care what people say about me. And I'm just like, I know who I am at the end of the
Yeah.
day. It's honestly laughable, some of the comments or DMs. I don't really care. It's when people say things about like you, Maple, Brooks, to where I'm like, oh, heck no.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes me really mad. And to where I'm like, you're blocked immediately.
Right.
And then I spiral and I'm like, wish I never shared anything
Right.
about anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, then we'd be broke.
Right.
But so I don't know. It is like a hard like balance, I would say.
Yeah. I think that was kind of going what was going to be the next is the hate. Obviously, social media is going to be, I will say, 99% of it is so positive.
Oh yeah.
99% of the people that follow are so kind and love our family and are so encouraging, and it's so nice to see.
Yeah.
But that 1% is loud. And that's something that I struggled with quite a bit in the beginning. And I've gotten better at it. You've helped me a lot with it because you're so good at it. How do you deal with those messages that aren't kind? How do you deal with those comments that aren't kind? Because you've helped me a lot with it, and obviously I still have room to grow. There's things now that, especially involving, you know, parenting, and I've stepped away from, since becoming parents, a lot of, you know, my life a little bit, and I think people have noticed. Obviously, this podcast is something that I started recently, and it's a way for me to still be creative without having to be super, you know, showing the everyday stuff of my life. I
Yeah.
kind of stepped away from that a little bit just because of how some of the stuff people said affected me. How do you go about it?
Well, first of all, you never get on Reddit.
Yeah.
Absolutely never. You will never catch me on there. And probably anything that's on there is like not even true anyways. It's like rumors or lies that people made up. But I honestly don't see a ton of the rude comments. Like I feel like you'll be like, did you see this comment on your video
Yeah.
from 5 days ago? And I'm like, no. I am not someone who's like, I'm gonna scroll through the comments. As soon as I post a video, I'll respond like back to a couple people who comment right away. And like that's pretty much it. And then especially the rude comments, like I don't ever see them, to be honest. I feel like you always tell me about them.
Yeah.
And
They
like
always find me.
they always find you. And then like the DMs, I feel like Instagram does a really good job of putting like things that could be offensive into like a hidden folder or something. And so it's like unless you're like seeking that out, they're not just gonna like pop up into your inbox or anything. I don't get a ton of like rude Instagram comments, hardly ever. And if I do, it's like about our house or something,
Or
which
it's
I'm
like
like,
a video that kind of blows up that goes beyond the realm of your
yeah,
following.
yeah, it reaches men and like people it was not
Yeah.
intended for. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you're not the audience anyways. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna get it. So it's like whatever. Like I just don't take things too personal, really. Like I said, I don't care what people say about me. It's when they're coming out like Brooks or you or something to where, but that doesn't happen very often. It's like the one
Yeah, it comes
random.
in waves. Like I
Yeah.
said, like there's been times, I think when we were first got married, there was people trying to attack that and put, you know, seeds in our head
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's like, you just, it's an interesting life because there's always people that even if they don't follow you, they recognize who you are, maybe, and they'll, you know, take that. I mean, one time I was in Arizona on a golf trip with some friends a couple years ago, and my sister was at college, and I was like, I'm gonna go take my sister out for cookie dough. Like, I haven't seen my sister in a while. Let's go. I'll pick you up. Let's go get cookie dough.
Yeah.
And someone like DM'd you, like Johnny's cheating.
No,
on
they
you.
commented it on a TikTok
Okay, I don't
that I had just
remember fully.
posted for people to like see. They were like, I just saw Johnny at an ice cream shop with another girl.
Yeah.
And I commented back, was it his sister?
Right.
And then I'm pretty sure they deleted the comment later. But I'm like, people, they will try to start anything. And it's just like the most out of pocket
Right.
things.
Like, and it's like, I get it. If maybe they had, like, they didn't know that was my sister, but maybe just send like the DM. But they were trying to like publicly.
no, yeah,
embarrass-
yeah. But also it's like embarrassing for them because you and your sister look just alike. I'm like, you think, hello? That's embarrassing.
So it's been something that, you know, I've been in this for, you know, 4 or 5 years at this point. I've grown a little bit better at. You've always been so good at it, and I think it's because you are just you're very comfortable with who you are
Yeah.
and who God has made you to be and the person you are. And I think that's something that I have, you know, when we first started talking, you start talking to someone, you scroll their social media, you kind of dive in. So I got a lot of your content. Okay, what does she say she is online? Who is she online? And it was amazing. And one of the things where I knew that I wanted to marry you was that when I would get around you in person, you were the exact same person. You had the exact same energy. You had the exact same values. You cared about the exact same things. And I was like, oh, she's exactly who she says she is. So I think that's why you've been able to be not exempt from, caring about the hate, but just better about dealing with it, is you are exactly who you say you are, and you're comfortable with that.
Oh, thank you. I think I was gonna say, like, anything that I've shared, I'm comfortable getting feedback or hate for it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna like post something to where I'm like, oh, this is happening in my life right now and I'm struggling. Let me post it to get hate about it. You know what I mean? So it's like with like the dad stuff, some people will comment on my video, daddy issues. Okay, been there, done that. Like this happened years ago. I'm posting about it because I'm comfortable with it and I can make jokes about it now. And I want like other girls who maybe they don't have a good relationship with their dad or even their mom or like their sibling, you know what I mean? But for me, it's my dad, but like they can apply it to their life however they see fit and think like, oh, I'm not alone. Other people are struggling with these things too. It's like I don't post about that for people to be like, yep, she's got daddy issue, or like, oh, that sucks. She has talked to her dad. Like, it's because I don't care. And so, like, not that I don't care, but like I'm comfortable sharing it. That's why it's out there. You know what I mean? And so it's like when people try to attack me or my character, it's just like, it's not true. And like, I don't know.
I think that's something that is what draws people to you, is that you are vulnerable about certain things and you have put certain things about your life out there where, obviously social media, it's still a highlight reel, but there is more real stuff. And so I think that's what makes you, more relatable. I see a lot of people comment, you're my best friend, or you're this, or like people care about you. And I think that's
Or
super
like,
cool.
thank you for sharing this. This isn't talked about enough, or like something like that. But aside from all the negative stuff, there are like a handful of people who they comment on like every single thing that I post and they do not go unrecognized. I know who you are and I see your comments and I love you guys so much.
Yeah. So obviously building a social media following, you have to be a little bit more careful about who you let into your life, just because you don't know their intentions. Unfortunately, having a following or having clout is something that a lot of people chase and a lot of people want in today's world. So do you think having a social media following has made it harder to build community in your adult life, as far as meeting new people and letting them into your inner circle? Have you had to be more cautious than maybe you would in another career?
I feel like, yeah, just because you never know if people want to be your friends for the right reason, which that could happen to literally anyone. It doesn't matter if you're, an influencer or whoever. But like, luckily for me, my best friend, we met in high school. Like, she doesn't care that I have a following. You know what I mean? Like, that's not why we're friends. But I feel like when we moved to Florida, especially, and my stuff was going like not viral, but it was getting more attention. And then like I was getting DMs from girls being like, "Oh my gosh, let's meet up. I want to be your friend." And I'm like, "Wait, I'm kind of scared." Like,
They could have really good intentions
yeah,
and
they
just really
they
want to be your
definitely
friend.
could, but I'm like, "Do you want to meet up because you want me to like post a photo with you, or because like you just want like intel on my life to go and like talk about it or something?" And so I think like two or three of my friends, like we have met through social media. And that's how we're friends. But a lot of my friends were not from social media. A lot of my friends are not influencers or in the social media space at all, which I actually love and like prefer that. But like I remember when we went to our church group for the first time, the like small group, and I was meeting the girls. I was like, "Hi, I'm Cass, whatever." And then as we were leaving, like one of the girls came up to me and she was like, "I just want to tell you this so that it's not weird later, but like I do follow you on Instagram." But like she didn't make it weird at all. She just made it very like normal seeming. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny," whatever. However, I just am remembering this. There was another girl in the group. We're not friends anymore, obviously, who I'm like, is she gonna see this? I'm like scared. She obviously just wanted to like keep talking to me to get information. We were buying our house and she literally asked how much we got like pre-approved for in front of everyone too.
Where it
And
was.
yeah, where are we looking for a house? Like, and I was just like, oh, St. Pete. She's like, no, I mean like which neighborhood?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're gonna come murder me in my sleep. That's the vibes I'm getting. She wanted to know how much we got pre-approved for, and I was like, what do you mean? And she was like money, how much? Like she literally said that, and I was like, okay, wait, I'm getting scared. But so there are people like that, you know. But yeah, I think it's like so refreshing to having friends who are not in social media at all. They don't know what a brand deal is. You know what I mean? They might know because of me, but like other than that, they have no idea how that even works. And like I love having friends like that.
Yeah, I think, if you don't have a career on social media, it's a lot easier to maybe meet friends through social media, and it's a great way to make friends and meet
Yeah.
community. When you have a following, you have to be a little more careful and maybe meet your friends in more of an organic way, which is
Yeah.
okay. It just can take a little bit longer, maybe. I think it's very common when you move into a new place, you start going to, finding people that live in your area and messaging them like, oh, I like your whatever.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a kid,
I was getting ready to say that, especially with Brooks. I feel like
we're
I'm
just
just like,
very, very careful about who we allow.
yeah, I'm not just gonna let anyone be around him, and I wouldn't be a good parent if I even did that, you know? And so it's like I have to be very careful with things like that.
Yeah. So one major change in our life was obviously having our son Brooks.
Yeah.
He's now 19 months old, and a lot of our lives, of course, couldn't imagine life without him.
Oh my gosh, he's the best.
But as far as moms on social media, I think it falls into two categories. There's, the mom that kind of gets a following by becoming a mom and posting about mom stuff, posting about her baby, stuff like that, And then there's the moms on social media that had a following before becoming a mother. And then that just became, you had a following and now you're a mom. It's just part of, life. How have you handled that transition? Obviously, you love what you do and you kind of have to post about our life, but also still being able to keep private aspects of our son's life together. Like, how did that transition go? Trying to figure out, okay, what are we comfortable with sharing, posting nothing, posting everything, kind of how did that transition go? And how do you feel like you've handled it up to this point?
I feel like I've seen it done both ways, right? Some people, they don't share their kid's face at all. They don't share the kid's name even, maybe. And then there's like two extremes. There's the complete opposite where it's like, okay, your account is your child's fan page now, So like there is two extremes to everything. I think for me, I've seen it to where people, they don't share the face, they don't share the name, and others make it like a game. Like they turn into FBI agents. They find out the baby's name, they post it online on TikTok, wherever. And then it's like, well, I wasn't sharing it for a reason and now it's out there. It's same with the face. You don't share your kid's face, and then it's like when you're in public, people are trying to take they see you, they're trying to take photos of your kid and share it online. So at least for me, I was going into it thinking, I want any information out there about Brooks to come directly from us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll share his name. I'll share, maybe what he looks like, because yes, there could be dangers to that. I know there is so many different opinions on this topic. I don't want, people in public, there's Brooks, let me try to take a photo of him.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. And so I'm just like, I wanted anything that we share to come from us. I feel like I'm still navigating the, like, I had a following before I was a mom. And so it's like, if all I would post is mom content, then it turns into, oh, that's her whole personality trait, is being a mom. And then if you don't post anything with your baby, it's, where's your baby? Why are you on a trip without your baby? You're at the beach without your baby. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, I'm just trying to be the best mom I can be, And so, I still like posting things that have nothing to do with Brooks. I love fashion. I love posting things about our relationship. I like making like silly, stupid videos. So I wouldn't say I'm like a mom influencer. I feel like some people might call me that. I personally wouldn't say that. But
You're just an influencer that has a kid.
Yeah. That's how I see it more. And also with like the vlogs and stuff, it's like, if I'm filming a vlog, of course Brooks is going to be in it. I'm not going to have the camera in his face, but like, he is my child. He lives here and I take care of him. Of course he's going to be in it. So it's like, but the vlogs, I would be posting vlogs with or without a kid, even if he wasn't, born or something. And so like things like that, again, obviously I post videos that it's like cute little trends or something, or that has to do with like me and Brooks, and like, I don't know. I just think any information out there about him, I wanted it to come from us. So I try not to be like, this week Brooks is teething.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this week he had a blowout. Like,
Right.
who cares? And also, that doesn't need to be out there
Yeah.
about him. You know what I mean? And I don't mind sharing things that's like a family photo, or even like a, oh my gosh, Brooks and Maple are so cute together. But I'm not gonna be like, I don't know. This week he learned this, and this,
Yeah.
and like, here's where he's going to school.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean?
I think that people may think they know maybe about Brooks
Yeah,
and they have
maybe.
no
Yeah.
idea,
But
which is
also,
what we want. Like, we don't want it to be where like they feel like they need to get like more. It was a tough transition, right? Because
yeah,
we didn't know how to navigate it. And obviously how social media works is you continue to grow. And so it's just like more and more people are brought in. And especially
yeah,
now that we're parents, the people that are brought in now only know us as parents.
yeah.
And so it's a tough thing to navigate. And it's kind of why I stepped a little bit more away from the social media thing and was more like just supporting you and in whatever you needed in that, is that I didn't fully know how to handle it as,
Yeah.
a parent.
I think I have a lot of thoughts about this topic. I could talk about this for like an hour, just this alone. But it's like, especially when like, oh, when I was pregnant, I don't care. He's not even here yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll post whatever. And then like once he was born, it's just different, because it's like, especially the newborn phase, like me and Brooks were together 24/7 until I could work out, and then like I would leave for a workout class and stuff. But like other than that, like he was my life. He still is. But you know what I mean? I never let, I was breastfeeding. Like I didn't leave his side. And so it's hard to still make content that has absolutely nothing to do with him in that time. I think now that he's getting older, it's much easier. Like I was able to go on the brand trip and things, and like, but then again, you get comments, where the heck is your baby? You're a mom. You should be at home with your baby, which is like the weirdest thing. But I don't know. It is like tough to navigate and
Yeah.
balance, but I feel like I meet a lot of people too. Well, not even, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say meet. Like when I talk to my friends, they will say, "What's Brooks up to?" You know, I
Yeah.
have no idea. And I'm like, "Wait, I thought I posted." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are like, "No, like you hardly share anything of him." Or they're like, "Well, yeah, we see photos of him, but like I have no idea what
Yeah.
he's doing or
If we
learning or
haven't seen
like."
like our friends in like a few weeks and he's doing something new, they had no idea.
Yeah.
And so they're always like, "Oh my gosh, you could do
Yeah,
that." We're like,
which I love that,
"We did that
because
like
I'm
two
like,
weeks ago."
I feel like it's hard for me because my whole camera roll is Brooks, right? But so then I'm like, wait, am I don't know. It's like I forget what I post on my story, and then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I didn't share any of that. But I love when my friends are like, no, I don't know anything about Brooks.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, that's amazing, because that means like I'm doing a good job, you
Right.
know?
I think as the kids grow up, and obviously we don't fully know like what social media will look like for us in the
Oh
future.
yeah, I don't think anyone knows
Right.
really.
But, they'll continue to have the privacy
Yeah,
on what they'll be in a family picture. They'll, when we go on a trip, like they'll be, but it's
yeah.
like the majority of like their life will be like kept
Like
to
especially when
us.
kids are in school and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like they're not
Yeah.
even going to be here. I'll be making other content. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, I feel like when obviously we have like kids in the house, like, yes, they're going to be
Well, it's like
in some of my
if you're
stuff.
making an outfit video right there, he's a toddler. He's gonna run in front of you. Like he's
Exactly. And
not
I'm not going to be like, well, now I have to refilm this because you're in it, because I
right.
don't want him like to learn that and be like, oh, if mommy's filming, I can't be around her.
Yeah.
And I don't want that, you know? So obviously in my YouTube vlogs, I feel like there are some things that like, he comes over, I pick him up, we have like me and Brooks have a conversation, and I cut all of that out because
Right.
it's like that doesn't need to be shared. But I'm not going to be like, now mommy has to stop the camera because I
Yeah.
picked you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't want him to, I don't know, even grow up thinking things like that.
It's created there's a lot of negativity, especially I won't say even towards just moms. There's a lot of negativity towards dads too, just parents in general.
Yeah.
People like to tell you what you're doing wrong, how to do things better. Even like you said, if you are posting your motherhood stuff, that's her only personality.
Only
I miss
personality
who
trait.
she was before.
which is crazy.
And if you didn't post anything, she's a terrible mom. All she
Yeah.
does is go to the beach, or all she does is work out, or all she does is go to get
Hang out with
coffee.
her
Yeah.
friends.
No
Yeah.
matter what you post, there's going to be negativity towards it.
You're darned
So,
if you do, you're darned if
yeah.
you don't. Also, I think, yeah, like exploiting your children is like a huge topic right now in social media world. And I'll see some videos of people will be like, so and so exploits her kids. And I'm like, are we watching the same influencer? Because I know nothing about this lady's kids.
Right.
What are you talking about and what are you seeing? But on the flip side, I see there's girls who are like content creators and all they post is their kid and those videos will get millions of views. But it's like if the only thing that gets you millions of views is you posting your child,
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said there and maybe we should reevaluate, you know, kind of what we're posting.
If that's the sole purpose of your content.
Right, exactly. But again, it's like I trust that that mom knows what she's doing for her baby, and I'm just gonna do what I think is the best for my baby.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna comment on her stuff and say, "You're a horrible mother for
Yeah.
posting this." You know, like it's like I think moms should just support each other, and I don't know. It's like that's her baby's life. If that's what she chooses, you know, this is what I'm gonna choose for mine.
Yeah. And I think that it's an interesting road to navigate.
Yeah.
But I think we have constant discussions. Okay, do we feel how did we feel comfortable about this? like,
Yeah.
this last season of life, and so I think it's something to
Just
constantly build on.
reevaluating
Reevaluate.
things. Yeah.
So speaking of the future of like kids and stuff like that, what does the future of content creation look like for you? What are some maybe platforms that you're going to be trying to push? What kind of content you're trying to make? Basically, what are your goals? What does the next 15 years or so look like for you?
Well, I always love YouTube, which is sad because it's my smallest platform.
Yeah, but your
but my favorite, I think I love the like long form vlogs because it's kind of like here is like a week in my life and I feel like I can it's more like valuable content than just like a little here's a morning in my life so quick like 30-second vlog, which is like I said unfortunate that that's my smallest platform, but I still post on there weekly if you guys want to watch. I did miss last week though because we had family in town. But I don't know. I think I'll always post on YouTube. It's hard to say because it's like I started doing this so young and like that's kind of all I know. Right out of college I didn't have any other job. Like this is all I know. And so as long as Instagram and TikTok are around, I feel like I'm just going to keep posting. Maybe a podcast one day. I don't know. Not anytime soon. That's like not on my radar. I feel like for now I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, you know, but it is interesting. Like in 15 years, I will be 40. Like, will I still be sharing my, I don't know. Like no one knows because we're the first generation to be growing up with social media.
Because
Our
there are
moms-
40-year-olds that are like content
influencers.
creators. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, would we want to be doing that?
Right. Would I want to? I don't know. Maybe all of our kids are like in high school and I'm like here making like baking videos and I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I would totally be up to that. Also, I'd be fine if in like 10 years, like it just kind of fizzles out. So I think it just like depends, honestly. There's different things I would love to explore. Real estate. We love real estate, like owning maybe different properties or like flipping houses and like reselling them. I would love to get my Pilates instructor license one day. I would love to own a studio, but that seems like a lot of work. But you never know. I'm only 25. I'm so young. You never know like what's in store. I would love to do modeling, but I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
What, the height?
Well, I'm 5'2", but
Which people are usually shocked to find
everyone
out.
thinks I'm taller. Yeah, yeah.
know why.
I'm not very tall at all, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't know. There's different things. I could do like makeup or something though, right? It doesn't have to be like runway modeling.
Right.
I don't know.
You got the looks.
Thank you. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that like I'm interested in, but I'm also like just so content with what we're doing now, and especially while we have like young kids, it's like I don't want to be doing a million things. So
Just live in the moment.
yeah, I'm not someone who's like, this is my 5-year plan.
Yeah.
I think that's more you.
Yeah.
And I'm more like, this is what I'm doing today, and we'll figure out tomorrow. You know what I mean?
No, I think we definitely balance each other out well in that way.
Yeah.
And it's helpful because, yeah, I mean, he's 19 months old and it's gone so fast.
So fast.
And so I know the kids will be done fast. And I never want to be the person where all I was career and money focused
Yeah.
for their entire childhood. And yeah, maybe we were sitting on a nice balloon of whatever in 20 years, but if we didn't spend quality time with them,
Yeah.
it's like, what was the point?
Yeah, if we were like work, like, yeah, I'm sure in 20 years we'd have so much more money. But like when our kids are little, we only have one, if we have more in the future. When they're so little, it's just like you're never getting that time back.
Yeah.
So if we're able to be at home with them right now, like that's what I want to be doing.
Yeah. So I definitely think I want to end it here. I definitely think there's people tuning in that have, a dream of using social media to be a career for them, whether that's influencing or growing a small business. What is your last piece of advice you give for someone who, let's say they are just starting from the ground up? What's your advice for them on using social media as a way to build a career?
First, tell all your friends to follow you. And if they don't, they're fake friends. Tell all your friends and family, hey, I'm starting a page, follow me. Post really cute stuff. Like you have to take cute photos and cute videos. And if you post it, it's going to get traction eventually. Like people could post for a year and none of their stuff blows up. And then it's like that next year is when you would have like got more views or something. So I feel like just you have to stay consistent with it, which is like so annoying to hear. But even with a podcast, starting a podcast, every single podcast out there started from nothing at some point. It's like you have to start somewhere and just keep posting, keep posting, keep posting. And then eventually people will be like, oh, well, they keep posting.
Yeah,
Might as well see what they're
follow.
doing. Yeah. So I think that's my advice.
Consistency.
And just like stay true to who you are. I think too, a lot of people are like, niche down, like find your niche. I don't really think that's the case because like for me, I like posting baking stuff, coffee videos, fashion, mom stuff, friend stuff. There's so many different like realms of the things that I like to post, and I don't think you have to really like niche down.
I don't think you should, because if you're trying to be, every person is so multifaceted. If you're trying to be, maybe you're not even faking it, but you're just being one part of your personality.
Yeah.
First, there's only so much you can do on it. And second, let's say that trend runs out.
Yeah.
What do you have to go on? I think the most important thing is be creative, be continuous, post continually, don't get down, but also be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, you can only fake a persona, you can only fake a character, you can only fake certain traits about yourself for so long.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely you have to be yourself. And like, I think there's no need to niche down. Keep posting anything that you love. And yes, completely staying true to yourself.
You can use that to start to build a platform, but I would just be careful, because if you start out only doing something and then you start to move on to something else,
yeah, people aren't going to like that. They're going to expect what you started with, I think. Yeah.
So just be who you are. Use, the multi, things that you like, or activities or hobbies, and be consistent. I think consistent is the key.
Oh, definitely.
Because you see those like videos of, it's very easy in social media to get down on yourself for the amount of numbers you get. If you get a video that has 300 views, that's like that, it only got 300 views. Like that's so bad. You get a picture of what 300 people in a room looks like.
That's so many people.
That's a lot of
I don't even
people.
know 300 people, like personally, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even like, I think for me, like I have 148 followers on Instagram. So many people have way more than that. Like that's not anything crazy. If you saw a photo though of 148,000 people, that'd be crazy. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, there are people who care about you, even if it's 300. Like it's like 300 people who follow you, love what you're posting. Just keep posting it.
If you have 300 people that care about you and like what you're doing and like what you're posting, do it for them, because you're making an impact on them, and then they're going to tell someone, and that's how you exponentially grow, is by being, authentic for the people that care about you.
Yeah.
And that's how, growth ends up happening.
Definitely.
So where can people follow you?
Well, like I said, I don't want millions, but you should come follow. My TikTok and Instagram are both cass.spinelli, and then my YouTube is just Cass Spinelli. I post literally every single day just because I love it. Like, this is silly, but I think there has been something on my Instagram story Like I've never let everything expire.
Maybe in the hospital for baby.
Maybe in the hospital, but from aside from that, there's always something on my story, which is like maybe I need to chill, but I just love sharing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you can follow me there. I post a lot about fashion, motherhood, friendship, marriage. I try to be funny. I don't know if everyone thinks I'm funny, but I sure do. And yeah, you should come follow. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check out my YouTube. I love my YouTube vlogs. I love my YouTube family too. I feel
Yeah.
like if you watch my YouTube videos, it's like,
You're a
oh,
real
you're a
one.
real
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like my favorite influencers, I watch their YouTube vlogs and it's like, I feel like I know so much more about them where it's like, oh, I would not have known that from your Instagram. It was only on YouTube, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely check out my YouTube.
Perfect. Well, Cass, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You might have been obligated because we have a marriage contract.
Oh no,
But
I was like begging. I was like, please give me a mic, let me talk. I could literally talk for hours.
thanks for coming on. Thank you for being so supportive in this venture.
Of
Obviously,
course.
we are busy, and so this takes some time, and you've been nothing but supportive. So just always appreciate you being supportive in whatever venture I am pursuing. And again, you're a great influencer, but you're even a better person, wife,
Oh,
and
thank you.
mother, and
You're so sweet.
you're the best. So thanks for coming
Well,
on.
you're the best too. Everyone, make sure to give Johnny Talks Pod a follow or a subscribe because this podcast is about to blow up. And then you can say, I was there from the start.
Yeah, the real ones.
Yeah, and you should go back and watch the other episodes because they were really good interviews.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming on it.
Yep, anytime. And
that was it for my wife, Cass Spinelli's interview. Just want to thank her again so much for coming on. And she's just been such a, like I said in the episode, such a positive, encouraging voice for me and throughout this process. And I'm someone who, I don't like to start something if I don't think can succeed fully. And, starting something new like this, you don't know if you're going to succeed. And she kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone there. And I just always appreciate her having my back and being in my corner. And so just loved having her on. Again, I think she is so good at what she does. She has so much knowledge on the subject. And again, I just think she's such a light in the space, which is so needed during this time. So I just want to thank her again for coming on. I will definitely have her on again later down the road, maybe a parenting episode or a marriage episode, because as good as a social media creator as she is and an influencer, she is an even better mom, an even better person, an even better wife. So if you made it this far and you just tuned in for the Cass episode, I appreciate it. If you're not interested in any of the other guests we would have on, that's totally fine. But if I could ask if you enjoyed this episode, maybe share it with a friend, boyfriend, husband, cousin, maybe someone that might enjoy some of the other guests we might have on. But I appreciate you giving it a listen and always supporting Cass. But super excited for next episode. Make sure you stay tuned for that one. We are talking to a business owner, someone who's in the sports videography business. We're going to be talking networking, starting your business, all things, pro sports videography. It's gonna be a really fun episode. You don't want to miss it. If you missed any of our other episodes, we had Casey in week 2 and we had Grant in week 1. If you haven't seen those, make sure to check them out. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.